Dear.
Yeah.
What so I read somewhere that it was a friend's accident that inspired
Yes.
the play. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the seed of the play was my brilliant friend and often muse Allison Fraser, the actress Allison Fraser, um, who I had worked with on a couple of little things. Was a Manhattanite and has a house in the Poconos, and told me this story one day that she had just come back from her house in the Poconos and she'd been with a friend and they hit a deer. And it had sparked this existential conversation between the two of them of what they were going to do and who was going to be willing to put it out of its misery. And my memory is that in the real story, the deer died on its own and they didn't have to choose who was going to do it. But she was fascinated by this event, and this must have been
Mm.
2011, 2012. This
Hmm.
was a period of time where I was writing a lot of stuff very quickly. And I just thought, oh well, that's the beginning of a play. And if the fascination of that moment is what it reveals about these two people, um, then I just thought, well, that's a relationship play. And I hadn't written a two-hander, and I had, as I said, I had been working with Allison, and I had just worked also with Chip Zion, who I had been a huge fan of for a long time, and Chip and Allison went way back, and I had known their work together,
Hmm.
and so wrote it as a kind of vehicle for the two of them, and and we worked on it for a couple of years. We did a number of readings, the three of us,
Hmm.
and then never sort of found a home for it and moved on to other things. And this is a very unusual play in that Dramatist Play Service decided to publish it before it had ever been done.
Yeah.
So I never did, my production of, like, people, like, it's so funny you're talking about the deer and how you're going to do the deer. People ask me sometimes when they do the play for tips about the deer. I don't know. I never did it. So it's this odd thing that exists out in the world and people do it. And but I never did my production. I just have the memories of this 2 or 3 year period where I did a bunch of work on it with Allison and Chip in various rehearsal rooms and apartments. By the time it was actually produced, I had sort of released it entire. I was like, well, that's a play I guess that's not going to happen. And I was not involved in the first production. I went to see it.
Hmm.
But I had the very odd experience of knowing that there was a premiere happening that had been licensed separate from my involvement,
Sure.
that I just sort of showed up to see.
That's always fun.
So fun. It's like I said before, it's sort of the magic of being a playwright, is that these things have these lives of their own, and other people in various places, sometimes in other countries,
Yeah.
suddenly bring them to life. It's an amazing thing.
What makes you laugh?
My God. Mhm. Oh my God, what a great question. I mean, I think, wow. I think probably the macabre. I mean, I, I I think gallows humor is my,
Okay.
yeah. I tend to laugh at very dark things.
Because this play is very funny. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a comedy,
It is. I
ironically.
mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
because at first when we sort of described it to the theater, they were like, well, we're like, no, it's really funny. We know it's
yeah,
a crazy premise, but it's hilarious. And the way because it is a relationship comedy,
yeah,
that
totally.
that's where the comedy comes out of, is this couple, and their recognition, our recognition of how we can be like them as well. That's where the comedy is.
Yes, totally. Yeah, it's a relationship. I mean, it's funny. I keep talking about horror theater, and certainly Deer is bloody, but
Mhm.
um, but no, that's like me. That's my version of a comedy.
Right.
I mean, I also think it's hilarious. I like when, and I think this is in this play, though it's very possible. I mean, you're so inside the play right now, and I am not. So I might say this, and you'll go, "What the hell are you talking about?" But I always find it funny when there are characters that are funny that the other character finds unamusing. In other words, like, I think Cynthia and Ken, probably in their own lives, people think are hilarious, but they
Right.
are not funny to each other. you know?
No, we just had that discussion the other day, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about how, they seem to, when one's having a bad day, the other one's having a good day,
Yeah,
and when one's really angry, the other one's just sort of like really flippant, and
totally.
that idea, well, that's where drama is, right? At conflict. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that they're so perfect for each other and so a unit and yet could not be on more different pages.
yeah, and the play's only bloody for half of
That's right.
it.
That's right. It gets, well, I used to think of it, I think I used to talk about it this way early when we were working on it, that I was very, when I was working on this play, fixated on the deer, the goat,
Oh,
always play the goat, which
yeah.
is, I mean, my God. And, that's a play, uh, I don't think this is a spoiler to say, that begins very clean and buttoned up and gets bloody at the
Hmm.
end. And that I sort of thought the
Okay.
deer was the inverse.
Yeah.
Deer is a play that like comes at you with the gore right away and gets progressively sort of more uh tidy.
Hmm. Well,
We've
literally, because they start cleaning in
Yeah,
the
literally.
top of the
Yeah.
second act, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a uniformly bloody yeah, it's a relationship comedy.